Hello and welcome back to the Fundamentals of SQL course. We are in the SQL statement and aggregation section and focusing on the having statement. So the goal of a having statement is to filter out the summarized group by results, or those categories we learned about in the last section. So having is the same type of filtering tool just like the where statement, but having is applied to the summarized group by records, whereas the where statement applies to only individual records. So only the groups that meet the having criteria will be returned, just like a where statement. And having requires that a group by statement or clause is present. The where and the having statement can be in the same query. So looking at the general syntax, this is how it would be laid out if you were to use both the where statement and the having statement in a query. So we have select our column names from our table names, where, and we give it a condition, and we group by our columns, and then we give another condition to filter out those group by records. So with a having clause, we may also want to sort the records that are returned. We can add the order by clause after having. So we group by columns, having this condition, and then we order it by a specified column. So let's list the number of films at each rental rate for our example. So we want to only include the rental rates with more than 50 films. So looking at my shopping list, I'm going to need a count of the film ID. So let's count film ID. And we're going to need the rental rate. We're using the DVD film table. And we need to group by the rental rate. We're going to use a having clause. And this is filtering out those results of the group by. So we're going to filter the rental rate group for more than 50 films for each group. So we need to say we have a count of film ID that is greater than 50. So this is returning all of the rental rates that have more than 50 films. So let's run this. It's taking a little bit. Great. So we know that the $4.99.99 and the $2.99 rental rates all have more film IDs than 50. Great. So let's try another example. Let's list the number of films at each rating, except G, and then sort it high to low. So we also only want to include ratings with 100 or more films. So when we're thinking about our shopping list, we need the count of the film ID and our rating. So just like our last query, select count of our film ID, and we're going to pull our rating. We're using the DVD film table, so from DVD underscore film, we're excluding the rating of G. So we don't even want to group by G. So let's filter that out using the where statement. So where rating does not equal G, and we can group by our rating. And then we also only want to include ratings with 100 or more films. So we want to filter out our count of film ID to be greater than or equal to 100. And then we want to sort this high to low. So we can order it by the count of film ID. And since it's high to low, we can filter it descending. So what I would like you to do is think about why this works. You can pause the video and kind of break down this query because this is definitely more complex than what we've seen so far. So you can pause. Great, so let's talk about why this works. This query works because we're counting the film IDs in each rating that doesn't include G because we use the where clause to filter it out, and then we group by the film IDs in the rating. Then we use the having clause to filter out all of the counts of the film IDs to filter out the results to only include ratings that have a count of more than 100 films. So we run this, and we get the ratings that have a count of 100 or more films. So those were the two examples that we have for the having clause. There'll be much more in your practice in Teachable. Remember that the having clause filters the summarized group by results, and it has to be linked to a group by clause. That's it for the SQL statements and aggregations section. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next lecture.